And welcome to A Little Less Than Random with me, your host, Jason, and my co-host, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday weekend.
Right. Well, some people might listen to it way later.
Yeah, way later. We kind of on and off through this.
I will say I've been really pleasantly surprised with the reception we've been getting. I've been pretty happy. I've gotten a lot of good feedback so far from people who've listened to the podcast. It's only we're small so far.
Just your people. I'm kind of reluctant to show any of my people.
You're afraid they'll cancel culture you?
Yeah.
Well, I like being provocative, and I like touching on difficult topics.
Provocative, thought-provoking. Mm-hmm. I like to challenge the status quo.
Yeah. So you had a really cool idea for the podcast today.
Yeah, especially after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. So do you want to introduce it since it was your idea?
Yeah. And so we're going to be talking about the dilemma here and then the idea of fat acceptance.
Right. And there's a couple different names. So we were thinking of different terms that people talk about.
Body positivity, fat acceptance, fat shaming, all those things tie together. We're going to just talk about, boil it down and how one goes with the other.
So we'll use fat acceptance almost interchangeably with that for most of the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. But at this point, fat acceptance is just kind of hijacked the idea of body positivity. And the reason why I say that is because body positivity is like love for yourself who you are. I mean, that's true. Yes, love yourself who you are. But I say love yourself to change, for a better change. Love yourself now as you're doing it. Right. But don't be complacent to just not change at all.
So to just try to get an understanding of the term, it's so like the acceptance could be like somebody who maybe is putting off doing something that would make them happy because they feel ashamed of who they are. Like maybe they don't go to the beach because they're nervous about wearing a bathing suit or being shamed publicly. Something like that, or they don't pursue a crush. Like they don't tell a crush that they're interested in them because they don't feel like they're where they want to be body-wise.
Exactly, and I can speak to that. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I bet you more people experience that.
I've had those personal experiences. Yeah.
More people probably experience that than are willing to admit, but I bet you that's really common.
Yeah, but like with the whole idea with the fat acceptance, it's mostly women of a certain size.
Why do you think? So you were mentioning that like women are commonly talking about. Why do you think that is?
Let's bring up while we're at it. Let's bring up the film Fatopia. It's on Amazon Prime. Okay, so if you don't know,
we'll link to it.
So we'll move into it. But if you're asking what fat acceptance is,
oh no, my question was why did you think it was
to those who don't
women?
know? Well, we'll get to that. So let's talk about the idea of fat acceptance, the movement. All right. So what is it? Okay. It's fat pride, fat empowerment, fat activism. It's a social movement seeking to change anti-fat bias and social attitudes by raising awareness about obstacles faced by fat persons for the general public. So pretty much they want to normalize obesity, being fat. I think that's kind of wrong. I mean, yes, as human beings, we're going to gain weight, but I don't think our bodies were designed to gain weight.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there. So here's what I often find is that when people get in arguments, they're usually talking about two different things. Like people have different definitions. So there's two possible definitions to the term. So fat acceptance could be the first definition we gave, which was just like not being ashamed of yourself, being willing to live your life, be happy with who you are.
But that's more than general body positivity.
And you could still want to work on yourself, of course. You could still be trying to lose weight. You could still try to be the healthiest version of yourself because that you could still... but you still want to live your life and enjoy things and be happy.
But those who are the activists of the body positivity movement.
And then there's that other definition who are saying...
radical...
Who are saying... what are they saying? Like, they're saying there's nothing unhealthy with...
They're in denial of the science.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing unhealthy being fat. I mean, yes, there is. I know that from experience because my grandfather had passed away from obesity. He was diabetic. He had other complications down the line. So he had cancer. It just boils down, it's a numbers game, It catches up with you, that lifestyle. It's not, obesity should not be glamorized. And, I've had my fair share. I had my troubles with it. I still am. I'm
Yeah,
still.
and I will say
It's an
too,
ongoing process.
to put kind of to give lend credibility, because some people say, well, why should you guys talk about it? There was a point that summer of my senior year, 17 to when I was turning like 17, or around 17, 18, I peaked. I'm 5'6". I peaked at about 210, 11 pounds, and I lost 80 some pounds. I got down to, I was in the 130s about a year later. And so I lost a significant amount of weight. And it's an interesting topic because people treated me so differently, and I was the exact same person.
And can you say that made you thin privileged?
Well, I think it made me cynical. And yes, there's a privilege to it because, yeah, people treat you
Well,
differently.
yeah, when you go through some kind of transformation in life.
Yeah, and it made me like dislike other people because I felt like that
For
was
better
really
or for
shallow
worse,
of people.
your personality is going to change. Your behavior
Yeah,
dictates your
yeah, yeah.
attitudes. Your attitude influences your behaviors.
Well, it was other people's behavior that influenced my attitude. So it was the people who were treating me, who were kinder to me or more interested in me. And, I guess that coming from both women and men, so it made me more cynical of people because I
Cynical towards a specific group of people or people in general.
I think people more generally, and that's kind of sad, but it just seemed that it just kind of highlights how shallow we all are, and it's just true. And maybe I subconsciously do it too, where you judge people based on appearances, or you treat people differently based on appearances when you really shouldn't, because I was exactly the same human being I was before.
Yeah, the only thing that's changed is
Is my
your
weight?
weight.
Yeah.
Well, thing with my story, I don't know if I mentioned this in the earlier podcast episodes. I'm an amputee survivor. I'm a cancer survivor. Because of that, I became an amputee. Well, let me just rephrase that. I am an amputee / cancer survivor, and I don't know if my weight had anything to do with that.
I don't think so, because you're really young.
I mean, we're talking about genetics. We're talking about the
Yeah.
environment. I think all those things had to have factored in somehow. It interests me because, like I said, I've gained and lost weight. I'm still struggling with weight.
Me too. Me too. I'm not happy with my
Hashtag me too. I'm just kidding.
Right,
No,
yeah.
no. Hashtag, yeah, I had struggling with weight.
Yeah, yeah.
Me too.
And I bet you, the funny thing is that when I was 130 some pounds, I also had a body image problem. See, it didn't matter what weight I was at. I had a body image problem.
Is not has anything to do with your height or just your weight?
Well, height's another thing we could talk about. That's another one when we talk about how people treat you poorly. I've gotten more pushback. I've gotten more negative just reactions from people for my height than I ever did for racism and for my weight or anything else like that. Like there was one time I was playing music. I was volunteering because he was a friend of my band's. And this guy made a short joke when I was playing for free for his wedding because he was a friend of the band's. And you get it a lot. You just get a lot of it.
And then tying back this to body positivity.
Yeah.
But I think body to positivity, well, let's define what it is. Social movement rooted in the belief that all humans should have a positive body change while challenging the ways in which society presents and views the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
It says the movement advocates the acceptance of all bodies, no matter the form, size, or appearance, which will change people's behaviors towards certain products and services. I mean, that's true. Yeah. I think body, like especially like me, like I had to learn to love myself again after losing my leg.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm more badass with a breast today. I could go around saying, "Oh, I'm a fucking cyborg."
Right, because you survived, right?
Yeah, and I'm a survivor, and the fact that I'm a survivor. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why I had cancer to begin with. I don't know if it had anything to do with my weight, but I'm not trying to end up going. I don't want to end up being like my grandfather too, even though I was the first one to have cancer in the family. So I need to step up my game.
And probably we all do, right?
And then I lost my brother too.
Yeah.
And ironically, he was, the reason why my motivation to like get healthy. Because that brings us to our another topic, fat shaming. And I don't know where to begin with. He had his own addictions, so he was kind of hypocritical about his beliefs. But I think it was tough love. I think he wanted me to change, but I don't think it was the best way to approach it. Like,
Oh, so you're saying because he used to pick on you or
yeah,
say,
he
make
picked
little
on
little
me.
comments
He
here
would
and there?
make comments
Yeah.
about my weight, amongst other things besides my weight. But mostly that I was fat ass and I was be a diabetic.
I've tried to improve on that too because my family, we'd say little jokes and stuff, kind of lovingly. And Spanish has some of those endings and those
Like
words
those
like
endearing
gordita.
words,
Yeah, like
gordita.
yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's a. But when you're saying harshly,
But it
like
could hurt, sting.
you
Yeah.
like you fucking fat ass, you're not gonna fucking do shit.
Oh yeah. So there's varying degrees of this for sure. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm gonna set the record straight. I have nothing against people of sizes. It's just at the end of the day, it's a choice you gotta make whether you want to make that change or not. So, like, I've loved certain women of certain sizes. It does. I'm an equal opportunity lover. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say that.
But now you only have eyes for one person, so
Yes.
now you're not.
Yes.
But let's see. What were
But I'm just worried about health. Like,
Yeah.
like if you have a lump in your arm and you're like 200 pounds or so, I think maybe that's a cause for concern. Don't you think?
Yeah. So here's where I think I was watching this. There's a YouTuber and he's a Dr. Mike. Have you heard of him?
I think you might have told me something.
Yeah, he had a patient. He made a video about a difficult patient in one of his recent shows, and the lady had joint pain, and she was significantly overweight, and so it was obvious that the weight, of course, was also contributing partially to the joint pain, right? And he thought, well, he could mention it right away, but probably every single doctor does that. And so he kind of just let her talk, and she started telling him about her problems. And so, to me, when I hear of the fat acceptance movement or the body positivity movement, it's about kind of people probably already know they're overweight and they're already struggling with it. Why make it worse?
Yeah, well, you're preaching
Yeah.
to the choir. Like they already know. It's just I think it also boils down to mental, like emotional issues.
Could be, yeah. If somebody's abused, then maybe like eating a piece of candy or eating or just eating something that they like.
And not to sound over exaggerated, like a tub of ice cream.
It's like dopamine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's dopamine
Isn't
in
it
a
weird
cup.
that like okay, if we're having a good day, we celebrate by eating ice cream. If we had a bad day and our boss yelled at us or bad day for whatever reason, we eat something to comfort us.
Exactly. Right.
So either way, it builds up.
Yeah. Well, when I was starting to try to be more social, last podcast we started with being socially awkward, and I mentioned that I was kind of trying to be less socially awkward. As I got friends, every single time we hang out, what do? We ate, and so
Of course, I mean it's like it's a stigma, just like coffee or cigarettes.
yeah, and so when we think about the environments that we live in, it's really hard to lose weight because, and I think you mentioned this.
Yeah, especially when I'm dating. Like I'm currently with someone right now, and it's kind of hard because we like to be together, but at the same time, if we're going to be together, how are we going to spend our time together?
which oftentimes you go out and eat, right?
Yeah, it always involves food.
And so the thing that's different from other vices and other addictions is that everybody has to eat. And some of the most important, and not only do you have to eat, it's socially expected, in a lot of situations if you want to be social.
Yeah, yeah. So with that being said, yeah, like it's a challenge, because okay, it's not what you eat, it's how you eat or what you eat,
Yeah. Or how much you eat.
how much you eat.
Too, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm trying to. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might have gained the weight back. I'm
still
too
look good.
scared.
You look good.
I still look
Yeah,
compared to
you should just step on
a
that.
few months back.
Yeah, you should just step on that scale just to make sure. Because you've been doing keto, right?
I've been doing keto, yes,
Yeah.
which is we can make that whole another podcast about. Let's see.
But-
Keto, yeah, I've lost 30 pounds because I'm just scared
That's
how
really
much
good.
I gained it back.
Yeah, and that usually happens where you lose a little bit, and
Especially
then a
during the
little bit back.
holidays where it's like, where it's like everyone's emotions are high, the New Year's coming up, there's that thought of giving everyone presents.
Yeah, yeah.
Just all these social expectations. And then, well, that stress that builds up with it, of course, you're going to want to eat a little bit more just to get through the day.
Right. Yeah.
especially Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, my God, have I been craving mashed potatoes
Oh, right. 'Cause you
without
haven't
trying to
had-
feel guilty?
Yeah. But it's kind of one of these things where it's kind of a little bit like it's not like you eat one thing that's wrong and it's over. You know, it's like, okay, you fall off the wagon, you get back on, right?
Isn't that what you call intuitive eating?
Intuitive eating? No, I don't know this term.
Intuitive eating. Oh, it's
You
like,
just eat just whenever you feel like it. Is that what you're
yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like,
saying?
it's like this polarizing idea, intuitive eating.
Yeah. I might get a lot of flack for this, but I always think that it's so interesting how many diets. Jeff was just talking about how there's so little known about healthy diets. But how many diets there are out there and ways of describing them. Because to me, I always think it's calories in, calories out. I've always had success whenever I counted calories, but it's
Okay,
hard to
so
do.
no, I'm sorry, Andrew.
So intuitive eating was.
So intuitive eating, yeah. So now that I pulled up the definition, it's an approach developed to help people heal from the side effects of chronic dieting. People who repeatedly diet often experience a diet backlash, increased rigidity regarding good and bad foods, restriction leading to increased binging, reduction in trust of self with food, feelings about not deserving food, social withdrawal, and shortened duration of dieting episodes.
That's so funny because that reminds me of another term called homeostasis, where it's just basically we you probably heard that term before.
I've heard it, but
yeah,
remind me.
basically you just kind of your body's trying to keep a constant, like a constant temperature, constant pH, constant weight, and
It's
so
like that perfect balance.
yeah, and so like when you do diet, your body's thinking, oh, I'm in diet mode. I need to conserve, and so it's really hard to move that needle if you're trying to lose weight. It's really hard for people.
Which is, I think, keto works for me. I mean, I'm not gonna promote it, encourage it. I mean,
well,
like you said, diet
people can try
culture's
different things. And
you know, like some things work for most people, some don't.
yeah, well, there's I forget his name, but there are a couple people out there who feel like if you eat more meat or more protein, you get satiated faster, and so you eat less. And so I
Yeah,
think,
so that's what I'm doing with keto. Like, I really don't want any processed food, as little as possible. Like, little to no soda, no sugar, no carbs, a lot of fats. And that's funny enough, we're saying no to fat, but I'm saying yes to it. Isn't it ironic that we gotta eat fats?
right. That was funny because there's that study that showed that fat was always fine. It was sugar that was the problem, and people were eating a ton
Sugar's
of.
the real fat.
Well, the interesting thing is you would never give a child alcohol, but there are
Who
children.
in the right mind would ever give it something to
Exactly, but we'll give a child soda.
give? I don't know.
And it has similar effects on children's livers, and so there are children with
That
fatty
and they're
liver
running
disease.
around everywhere because of the sugar rush.
Yeah, but it's so the specific type of sugar and how it's digested is different.
Yeah.
So
You know what? Going back to my past, I kind of blame the Ninja Turtles
the pizza.
for my childhood obesity because of the pizza. Thanks a lot, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we'll have to send him a letter.
Kevin Eastman, the creator of Ninja Turtles.
Oh, was he? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
See, that's why we have you on the podcast. You know all these good things.
Yeah.
That
I'm gonna sue you for my childhood. You made me eat too much damn pizza.
yeah. So you mentioned I did want to get back to something you mentioned about gender. And I actually wanted to have a woman on the podcast.
Yo, we might have an episode 2 to this.
Yeah, we can talk about this. This is gonna be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah,
About it.
it doesn't have to end in this podcast. It can be resumed at a later date.
And
It's whether or not
you mentioned though
the
that
said
more
person is
more
wanting to talk about it.
Yeah, you mentioned that more women were talking about this issue than men.
Well, just from watching that documentary itself
Okay.
and the TED Talks about it,
Who
it
was
only seems like women.
Who was the lady we watched in TED Talk? We can link to
It
it.
was like Kelly Jean Drinkwater.
Yeah, and I like the TED Talk. It was really good. So I recommend it. So we'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, we'll
for
put a
it,
link in the description.
and to the Fatopia, so
And the
they know
Fatopia.
what we're talking about.
It's just that like it's just only women are having these problems. It's like
No, they're not though, right?
They're not. But it's just in terms of the advocates of the fat acceptance.
Yeah.
Who are the advocates? Who are the ones really saying this?
Right.
Women, and then
There's not enough men talking.
there's not
about
enough
it too.
men talking. I have not seen one man.
And so here we are.
Obese man. Are you pointing at me when you
No,
say
I said
that?
here we are talking about.
All right.
You were the one that added.
I'm
the
not gonna lie.
obese.
I mean,
But we
do
are
have a
talking
lot.
about it as men
Yeah.
who struggle with their weight.
Yeah, I am struggling with my weight,
Or
but I wouldn't say I'm part of the fat acceptance movement. I always strive to change and improve, reinvent myself, and whatnot.
But you support the movement,
Do I support the
parts
movement?
of aspects of it.
I like
not-
some ideas of it, but not entirely.
Oh, I see.
It's just mostly it's all radical ideology.
Well, not
You're
necessarily all of it.
promoting, glamorizing, celebrating obesity.
So with any public movement, here's
I believe more in body positivity than the fat movement itself.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
the fat. Okay, I believe in body. Let me rephrase that. I believe in body positivity more than I like fat. The idea of fat acceptance. Fat acceptance just kind of hijacked the idea of body positivity. Like, I think they want you to just be complacent at the weight. So they're basically saying if you're 500 pounds and you didn't do anything about it, it's okay because you can still love yourself at that. But at the same time, how can you love yourself if you can't even move or do anything because of lack of physical activity? Well, it kind of makes me wonder if my granddad, despite his condition, I think he loved himself despite his condition.
Yeah. So I don't have the source in front of me, but I know it's somewhere around this number or this figure. 95% of people fail at their diets. So does that, thinking about that, the fact that most people want to do better but fail, does that give you maybe more compassion for people who are struggling with this, with their body weight and BMI?
It all
health?
ties in with psychology, right? You can't talk about eating without talking about psychology. It all has to do with the mind, right? And I know you don't believe in free will, which we will talk about some
That's a different
other time.
podcast. That's the free
a
will
different
podcast. Yeah, I don't believe in free will.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna have to stay tuned for that topic. But I don't know. I think we're just genetically predisposed to feel like that. It's nature versus nurture. So pretty much
Well, or nature and so I think of it as nature and nurture interacting together.
with one another. Yeah, okay, yeah,
one
it could be a combination. It shouldn't be just a contrast. But yeah, it's a combination of those two things. So it's how I was raised. It's what I ate during my lifetime. It's all those things. So I'm trying to understand what led my granddad to, have diabetes at an early age and suffered.
How old was he?
He was 69.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, I've struggled with my weight, and I've suffered abuse too, mental and physical abuse. And I loved him regardless what he felt about me, but he wasn't wrong either.
You're talking about your brother?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. He had he had his own addictions too. Not everyone's gonna have the same addiction. It's just 90% of Americans are just overeat, overindulge.
Yeah, we have too many calories. We evolved in a hunter-gatherer society where calories were scarce, and here in the U.S., you can get plenty of calories for $6 at Little Caesars, right?
Yeah, and then as time went on and we evolved and stuff, Industrial Revolution came, and agriculture came. We had everything's been industrialized. Our food has been processed, and so you can argue, you can make the argument saying that European man, white gentleman, brought the food that. You see where I'm going with this? All the hamburgers and pizzas.
Yeah. Like that the food's bad for us, right? Yeah, okay.
So aside from blaming Ninja Turtles, I blame the white man for the hamburgers.
You're doing a
stuff.
Post-colonial reading or criticism, not reading, criticism.
If you want to call it post-colonial, everything's post-colonial. Everything is a byproduct of post-colonialism.
Everything? No,
almost
not everything. Not everything. Some things pre-exist. Like if you were. Well, anyways, I'm not gonna.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with it over.
All right, maybe I'm looking too deep into the whole.
No,
idea
no, this is fun.
This is fun. Yeah.
Well. Oh no, go ahead.
I'm just I've struggled with weight. So I didn't want to lose the weight I wanted to do. I just didn't know how. And then but here's another reason why I don't accept fat acceptance. All right, they say they don't like fat shaming. Well, guess what they do? They're fit shaming.
Sometimes, right? Because they'll say you can't talk about an issue or you can't understand an issue because of your perceived identity, and they have no clue
If you're a
what.
cisgender white male,
No, I mean they have no clue what you went through, right?
or talk about me specifically or in
No,
general.
not you specific, but well, or you specifically. Remember the first podcast I mentioned your teacher that told that joke about your man spreading.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, episode 0, right?
Yeah.
And so that was our unlisted one. I made it public because people asked me, they're like, "Do you have any more?" I've gotten really good feedback about
Reminds
the
me of
podcast already.
that
And so,
Dave Chappelle reference, like, got any more of them podcast?
well, I don't remember that. Is that the most recent one?
No, I'm just saying, do you ever see that meme with Dave
I haven't
Chappelle
seen
where
it,
he's
no.
like, the crag is like, you got any more of them?
Oh,
Whatever.
yeah.
Insert whatever it is.
Yeah, Okay, so she had no idea about your prosthesis, right? And so
So I had my leg extended.
Right, so she made a joke that was a terrible joke. And so one of the things that I dislike about some of the people who consider themselves woke is that they tend to criticize others based on their perceived identity. But the thing with identity is there's whole other layers of identity that people can't see and that are really hard to quantify. And so she saw somebody who with a lot of privilege, right?
I was just
and
ended up being sitting on the front
Yeah,
row,
I know. And she was trying to tell a joke. So maybe I'm
I don't think she was a feminist. I think she just said it just because.
I know, but
no, it just had me thinking. That's it.
okay, so same thing in the Phatopia. Remember how they didn't want to have a conversation with the main guy,
with the interviewer, because
Yeah.
he's a white male,
right?
cisgender male,
But
who's
how
privileged.
they've made an assumption about his experiences that he's always been thin. And so the thing with weight loss is you can go on this journey and you can have all the right attitudes, and you wouldn't see that just by looking
Yeah,
at someone.
I mean, whether the interviewer himself was fat before the making of the movie.
Yeah,
or
we don't
not.
know,
We
but
don't know anything about him.
but what if
other
he
than
were?
he
Yeah.
was just
Or
curious
what if he
about
was?
making it.
Yeah.
Well, if he was, then I think he would have been more inclined to share that himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just a random guy out of nowhere, just interested in making a movie about talking about a special interest piece about fat acceptance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like they're fit shaming and not talking about thin privilege. I mean, aside from that,
Or just shaming people.
just shaming people for being fit. Like you hear
without necessarily knowing anything about
Have
them.
I told you about the Planet Fitness thing?
No.
What happens? Okay, supposedly Planet Fitness caters to people who are unhealthy,
Plus size.
plus size, yeah.
Okay.
Because other gyms, traditional gyms like your Fitness 19s, your LA Fitnesses and whatnot, are more for the fit people. That's their demographic. That's their clientele. But people who are out of shape,
How do you know this? How do you know? Where did
just
you hear
from
about
what
this?
I've been hearing about, it's the internet, of course, and then from what I hear.
Okay.
And then I see YouTube videos where like, oh, I go to the Planet Fitness and I get kicked out for being fit.
I haven't seen this at all. I haven't come
Okay,
across it.
supposedly they discriminate. If you go to a Planet Fitness, supposedly you get kicked out for being too fit.
Oh.
Because Planet Fitness only caters to the weak, well, not necessarily weak, but out of shape clientele. That's why, for whatever reason, supposedly every month at Planet Fitness, they serve pizza and donuts. Think about that. Why would they
You're
serve pizza
kidding
and
me,
donuts?
right? That's a joke, right?
No, I'm not making this. You can Google this as we speak.
Oh, okay.
You can Google it
No,
if
it's
you want.
okay. I'll trust you.
I mean, folks, don't take everything I say for granted. Do some research.
Yeah, because we could get fooled too. In episode 0, did you see I made that mistake? I cited something that I read through the Huffington Post, and my mistake for trusting HuffPo on anything. It was misinterpreted. The guy, it was the one about the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That reference I made.
I think.
Do you remember that? Yes, but I put the edit in the description, and I'll do that for these. I like doing that where I'll put the links to our resources that we use, and if we forget one, just ask in the comments. And we're happy to put
So Planet Fitness. I mean, granted, it's cheap. Yeah, $10 a month for Planet Fitness. That's good.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah.
But I want to see if that's true. I got to see that video. I only just saw the thumbnail.
Okay.
Clickbait thumbnail. I was like, oh, I get kicked out of Planet Fitness for being fit.
Yeah, well, there's this meme of Abraham Lincoln saying, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet."
Yeah.
Yeah, so be careful with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Everybody
can't
just
believe
wants to get
everything
a-
you read on the internet. You know where I heard that? The internet. Reminds me of that
Yeah,
Geico
yeah.
commercial. It's like, I'm dating a French guy. He's like,
One of my
Oh,
one of my
bonjour.
one of my friends pointed out to me that it's similar. It's just kind of ironic that there's a class at the college I teach at that's Introduction to the Internet. It's an online class.
Oh, no fucking shit.
Right. Yeah. You want to take a break?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
And we are back. Welcome back to A Little Less Than Random with me, Jason, and
Well,
Andrew.
we left. They probably still listening.
Well, yeah, they're. I mean, yeah, we took a little break.
Hey, did you change?
Change what?
Were you wearing the Venom shirt earlier?
Yeah. As soon as we got back to your place, I wore my shirt.
Oh, okay. I just
But
realized that.
this has
That's so
nothing-
weird. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you made a lot of cool observations, and hopefully we capture them all on the podcast. Although we
But
said
they- yeah,
we can
but they-
revisit this.
Yeah, let's revisit this, and
Yeah.
I think one thing we haven't touched up really on is fat acceptance. We talked about the radicalizations of it. Yeah, you shouldn't be complacent. I mean, love yourself. Yeah, body positivity is a good thing. Fat acceptance, not so much. I mean, yeah, accept it, but also do something about it. Don't just be complacent with just how you look.
Yeah. So I think we
Because,
again-
like I said, our bodies weren't designed to stay like in one shape. I know we're gonna be tall. One someone's gonna be short,
yeah.
but
Well,
that's
some
just
things-
that's just like size, height. Yeah.
Yeah. And so some things you can't change. They're just who you are. Like that's just how you were born.
Whether you're
Right.
born light skin, dark skin,
Yeah,
white,
yeah,
black.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things with the criticisms of the body positivity movements and the fat acceptance movements include usually it has to do with this perception that people could easily change their weight, that they could just lose weight, and I think I said 95% fail at it, and so it's not as easy.
I mean, I guess losing
has-
weight, yes, it takes a lot of mental fortitude.
Yeah, and again, like I think it's even beyond that. So, it's a really interesting professor named Gad Sad. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he just had a hard time explaining to Joe, and he just was very gracious and letting Joe kind of keep going on and on and on. That it's more than just having willpower. It's more than just a mental game. Really, our bodies are tuned to try to get calories, and it's just incredibly hard for most people to move beyond that and actually get to the weight they want to.
Interesting. Is this the one where he's like, Joe Rogan's like, these people are like are eating themselves to death or something? Like,
Oh no, not that, not the same one. But Joe did say that. I think I watched that clip too. I saw him talking about Tess Holiday in that clip, and so there are different views, I guess, of the body positivity movement. Like, and one thing we're saying off the podcast, I was telling you, is that anytime you have a movement, there's not like there's people who are voted to represent the movement. There's no democracy.
yeah, there's not one. But Tess Holiday is pretty much the poster child of the movement.
But like people aren't picking her, right? She's not voted for it. She just happens to be popular. It's not like people are saying this person stands for the blank movement. And I'm an open atheist. Atheists get this all the time. There are no 4 pillars of atheism, right? There's no
Well, it's not a religion in itself.
Right, and same thing but the movements whenever there are social movements, there are no central tenets.
Yeah, exactly.
of
With Occupy, there was
body.
no leader. Supposedly.
Exactly, yeah, and so when you criticize a movement, there are going to be people who make weird radical claims within any movement, and so the radical claims of the body positivity and the fat acceptance might be something that denies that there can be health consequences to
Okay, yeah, like
maintaining
I
an
mean, with civil rights movement, there were leaders, of course. You had your Martin Luther King, you had your Malcolm X, even though he was on the radical side of things.
Well, even there, yeah, that's a great example because their views didn't line up perfectly, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure someone had taken up the mantle, saying, "You know what? I am the voice of the fat acceptance."
Yeah,
movement.
and I don't know who that would be.
I don't know.
but,
I don't know
I
if
mean,
it's Tess Holiday. I don't think
she's-
she would say, "Hey, I'm fat acceptance."
Yeah, she's popular.
I mean, she's popular. I think if anything, she's just more of a poster child, and she's taking advantage of all that publicity. Maybe. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I say she's cute, but at the end of the day, that weight it's going to catch up to her as she ages.
Well, and that has to do with I mentioned too on that if you're tall, that can also be that's something to keep in mind is as people age, it can be harder and harder to
Yeah, and that
move and
works
walk.
against
Yeah,
you too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some elements of truth to that that some
Mhm.
people deny.
Yeah. So as I get older, when I get older, not a question of if, but when I get older, I know I'm gonna have to take. Well, that's why I'm taking extra care of myself now, because I'm trying to avoid or delay just the idea or the just me being in a wheelchair.
Mm,
I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I want to be mobile.
hmm
I'm trying to be mobile now, so I don't have to be. I don't want to. I don't want to be immobile ever. I like.
I see. I see.
I
Yeah.
take my mobility for granted, and I'm trying to move as much as possible, even
Mm-hmm.
though at the end of the day I'm tired and this and that. But I don't want to get older and I'm like bound to a wheelchair or have to use crutches. But no, I maybe crutches, but never out of wheelchair. I just hope I want to take care of myself now, so I don't have to worry about it
You want
later.
to have freedom to move around and do things that you enjoy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I admire like the people I know who are far past the life expectancy, their life expectancy age, and who still move around, and they're in their 80s or 90s and
and
still
they're
do all
able
kinds.
physically to move. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
bound
yeah.
to any
It's like
device,
it's like quality of life who maintain a high quality of life. Yeah.
and that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, that's why I'm trying to lose weight. Everyone has different motivations to lose weight. I mean, what is the motivation to keeping the weight? Does anyone really ask themselves that question? What do you have to gain from being big? Except for the weight, no pun intended.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think weight's just extra baggage. I mean, weight is just what our body carries.
Hmm.
Honestly, yeah, there's healthy ways of gaining weight, healthy ways of losing weight.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we
So
don't.
like muscle mass is good, right?
Yeah, muscle mass is good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with gaining weight as long as it's healthy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There are even healthy people who are who've gained muscle mass but are criticized for that. So, like, do you know this basketball player named Zion Williamson?
I'm not a basketball fanatic like
Oh
you are.
no, it's okay. So he's first year in the NBA. He's already been injured. He already injured his knee, or I think it was his knee. Maybe I'll have to edit this, but he's already injured, and people are linking it to his size, and he's not unhealthy. He's just big for his height.
When you think of someone big playing basketball, you kind
You,
of makes you wonder out there in the wrong sport. Shouldn't they be playing basketball? I mean, big as in bulky, muscular,
yeah, but even then, there could
whereas
be
basketball players are thin
many are
and
right,
tall
and
and
so
agile.
yeah, well, so the thing is like the extra stress it puts on their joints and their bodies with that, like this, the high amount of torque that they put when they change directions, or the high amount of force, because they jump, so high. The force that they're putting on their bodies is just incredibly extreme. And so it can lead to injuries. And so even perfectly healthy people at a certain weight, it's going to take its toll on certain aspects of your joints and your knees. Like I'm always trying to really take care of my knees, because that's kind of where people feel it first. I find it's like the most common injuries, knee injuries in sports.
Of course, yeah.
That might not be true, but that's what I hear.
And then, yeah, I don't know what else much to say about. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fat shaming going on.
Mhm.
But that shouldn't have to happen. Fat shaming shouldn't be a thing. It's no different from bullying. Yes, I agree with that. The fat shaming is bullying. I've been fat shamed by, like I said, by my own brother, and he's no longer with us. So it's no longer about me proving him wrong. It's more about proving myself wrong. It's something I've been wanting to do. That should have been my motivation to begin with. I want to look like the best version of myself. I want to inspire others. I don't want to be lethargic. I don't think I was made just to like stand around, sit around, do nothing. And that's what I feel like I do most of the time at my job. And then like I want to do something that I was meant to do. Maybe I don't know if it's podcasting or I don't know. My call, I mean, especially at 30, almost close to 32.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't remind me. We're almost the same age.
Yeah.
Almost exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm like looking too deep into this, but I think fat acceptance it's a dangerous ideology. Pretty much, it's saying okay. I mean, if you want to recap this or like just in conclusion or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dangerous ideology. It's a misleading one.
This is funny because this reminds me of our first episode where I said I was more of the social justice warrior between the two of us. I really like it. I really think that most of the time it seems like there are, like, just like I was saying in the last, I think you already left for work, in the last podcast with Jeff about income, nobody would want to trade places with somebody who's living on welfare, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody, we should have empathy for those who are struggling to live.
I do have empathy. Yeah, my brother didn't have any for me.
And so that's what I see the movement as. I see it more as a way to be more
It's
empathetic.
it's like we're fat, please feel sorry for us. But at the same time, it says like, screw you if you think I need your help.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. And so
it's like, it's a wishy-washy group. Like,
well, that's what I was saying is whenever you have a group like that without people who are voted to represent the group, there are no official central tenets of the group, central belief system.
No, just like you wouldn't have Christianity if it wasn't for Jesus, right? But
with that example, there is a book that contains an approximation, even if people interpret the book differently, central tenets of the religion. And so with something like body positivity, there are, probably 30 different definitions. Yes, but not
fat acceptance. No, fat acceptance is like, it's just attacking anti-fat biases.
But there are a lot of those. And so you
can't change someone's behavior or what people think about fat.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's negative. Yes. Well,
that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give a more positive spin on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that, like, if somebody's if somebody's overweight, that they face maybe negative views on the job, or might not get hired, or might get passed up for a promotion, or might not look good or might not be able to buy a suit. I mean, that was something I struggled with.
Like you said, thin privilege. Yeah, maybe it exists.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I hate wearing suits because it's hard for me to find suits that fit.
But I think being tall is advantageous too, just because, I'm like somewhere between looking fit and out of shape. Well, if I suck in my gut.
Well, certain brands are made for groups that are on average taller, right? Or there's certain clothes that fit a certain way, and that means that it costs less because you don't have to get the things altered. You might be able to find something on the rack that looks really
and speaking
decent.
Of retail stores, right? Okay, you think it's discrimination if, let's say, let's say a clothing store, like, let's say Forever 21, right? You think it's discrimination if they don't carry the largest size for a woman or a man, assuming there's men's clothes there too?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. What do you think?
No,
there's going to be a limit to the size. That
or
they
like,
carry.
let's not just limit it to Forever 21. Let's go if you go to a Hot Topic, Spencer's.
Yeah, so they're gonna stock. So stores are gonna stock a wide variety, right?
Of sizes,
because they probably don't want to discriminate. But the middle ground, right, is going to sell. They're going to sell.
What is the average T-shirt size that's getting sold? Like large at the most?
Probably large and mediums, right? And so smalls and XXL is probably not getting sold as much.
Because one, it's hard to produce, and they're always getting sold out.
I don't know.
Or they just don't want to do it, and then I can just go up and say, "Oh, Hot Topic's discriminating me because they don't have my largest size, like a 4XL shirt." I'm not 4XL. I'm just over exaggerating.
I get it. I get your point.
2X at the most, but you rarely see 2X nowadays.
Yeah. Well, here's just to kind of draw an extreme. There's whatever size you are, there's going to be a limit in terms of the number of sizes available.
Go on.
You know what I mean? Like, a store can only stock so many sizes, and I'll say, so I actually experienced this when I was shopping for my suit most recently, and I did have to get it altered, but just to find something that would make me feel good and feel good about myself, I walked into a couple of stores and I could not find a single suit that would suit me, pun intended, right? Yeah, it takes a lot more time.
Well, you're talking about something that's being tailored to you.
Well, some suits can get tailored. I mean, I'm not, I'm not super rich, and so
like me, I'm just looking for a simple T-shirt. I'm a T-shirt guy. I like a shirt that has a cool design on it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's a little more expected that some suits won't fit, but T-shirts, generally speaking, you should be able to walk into a store and buy a T-shirt. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I'm just saying I can't find a shirt my size. Like, I go to a Hot Topic, I want this cool T-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh no, the only biggest size they have is a
Yeah.
large.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of men feel that, like the big and tall,
So
not
wait, so
sections. It's not always section.
let's go back to the gender, right? So
Okay.
like I said, majority of the fat acceptance women movement is
Well,
mostly
in
women.
Fatopia, in the
Fatopia,
documentary.
yeah, Fatopia at least. Speaking from that film,
Yeah, and so my thought was that it may be that fat acceptance comes or stems from a lot of the critical theory that comes from, let's say, the feminist and the LGBT critical race theory section, which is dominated mostly by women in universities. There are more women who seem to gravitate
so
towards
are the
the
women from the fat acceptance women are also feminist slash LGBTQ supporters,
probably.
or am I just stereotyping here?
No, I mean so there's some things that are common, right? So feminism seeks to promote things like equity and equality for of opportunity
In regards to
and
sexuality,
yeah, and freedom to be
but
who, and
it's
freedom
kind
of
of
expression, free like a lot of these same ideas are perfectly isomorphic with the fat
yeah, it's kind of
acceptance.
parallel to the yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No. So I think that's why. But it could. You made a really interesting observation was to say earlier that men oftentimes are looked on more harshly if they complain about some things,
About the weight.
about bullying or
But I
about
think because men, and I'm not trying to say women can't, have more fortitude to change about it than just talk about it. Maybe they'll talk about it. I don't know. Me, I rather do something than to just like complain about it. I'm not trying to say women complain. I mean, with that kind of energy, the fat acceptance movement has just talking about their beliefs. That's the same energy they could have put out to make some change in their lives. Like going for a walk or something. At this point, like it's hard for me to see the fat acceptance movement for what it really is. Like, it's basically promoting lethargy, like being lethargic. Being like you said, homeostasis. Like,
well, maybe not. Like I was trying to say is like I know people who are uh very very active like and who might be like above average weight. Like to me, it doesn't. Whether or not you're active, it could just be that you eat too much. Like people are often surprised how athletic I am, even though I'm not super thin. I hike a lot. I play basketball a lot. I'm relatively fast when it comes to playing basketball, but I, yeah, but I like to eat. I like food.
yeah, like
Right.
food. Though we
Yeah.
all love food. Do you
Yeah,
like? Let's not.
I struggle with it. It's like
Yeah,
it's usually like isn't it like 80 a lot of people say it's like 80-20. It's 80% your food and only 20% the exercise and the
yeah,
activity.
and that's why diet culture fails because we're not eating the right stuff.
Yeah.
Like no amount of exercise you put in is gonna make up for a bad diet. Like you could do all like the
I
heavy
agree.
lifting and running, but if you're just putting junk back into your body, that just sabotages everything.
Yeah, and it takes a long time to burn calories, but you can eat this, an enormous amount in a couple minutes.
And it's kind of hard, especially like with nutrition and diet culture or whatever you want to call it. I know everything's a culture nowadays, but yeah, like nutrition could be confusing as fuck. One day they say, "Oh, this and this is healthy," and then the next day, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
bad."
Oh, I remember the guy's name. Yeah, it was Gary Tobbs, I think, was saying that you should eat mostly meat. And then you have the vegans whom I empathize with, who get really mad at that.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
whole nother argument right over
Yeah.
there. Yeah, so like I said, there's nothing wrong with being fat. It's just how much of it you have will determine your outcome of your life. Like biologically speaking, I'm not a biology expert. I'm not a doctor or whatever.
Not a rapper.
I mean, I'm not a rapper. I mean, we all have fat, Like we all have a certain body of fat, It's just, it says how is fat proportion to our body, how it carries our frame, Like again, I'm not interested. I'm not a fucking body trainer. I'm not. Whatever, it's end of the night. I'm getting tired, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
Well, we can wrap up in a section. A second. We can wrap up in a second. I will say I get kind of annoyed when people fat shame my cat.
why? Because they all say they look like Garfield. and they eat lasagna and sleep
Oh,
in
yeah,
on
I know.
Mondays or hate Mondays.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't fat shame Ricky Cat.
Yeah, I know. A few
I
people
mean, I
have.
think it's that fur. That fur is deceiving.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm not fat. I'm just big boned. No, I'm actually cultivating mass.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
But really, joking aside, I am trying to change.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and that's good. You know, that's one thing is I think that when it comes to these sorts of conversations, we should aim to be motivating. Almost very few people, so in my opinion, only the fringe people are saying that it's healthy to just eat and eat and consume far more calories than you
Fringe
use.
science.
Well, I'm saying there's not many people that believe that. And so, you know, there's no need for more videos on YouTube saying that people are denying science. I think, in my opinion.
And there's a saying like, facts don't care about your feelings,
Yeah.
which is true. And then you get people from that movement getting their feelings hurt because they can't accept reality. They can't accept facts. They know it's gonna kill them, but like they're living in denial.
Yeah, but they don't need to be told by everybody all the
They,
time.
they don't, if I know they don't need to be told, but that's just the reality. It's called reality. It's just like a smoker doesn't need to be told that he needs to stop drinking. Same thing with the alcohol.
Well, like I'll give you an example. Going back to the short thing, like it's by definition I'm shorter than average. I don't need to be told every day that I'm shorter than average. I get it.
Kind of reminds me of that scene
You know,
from
it's
Star
like-
Wars where Princess
and
Leia's
so-
like, "Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Considering all the stormtroopers are the
there's
same
a certain
sizes.
point where some things get old, and I'm almost confident most people who are overweight know they're overweight,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I think we're all self-aware of our own issues.
Yeah, and so
I mean, some
so
more
to-
than others. I mean, I think we have to be more self-aware.
So to me, this whole movement is about just trying to keep an open mind about how challenging it is to lose weight, and to.
So
and
what
to
does
be-
that mean? Just not do anything about it altogether?
No, and so here's the thing: is I don't think shaming actually does anybody any good.
I don't think, like I said,
Right?
it's bullying.
Yeah, it's bullying. Yeah, you and I agree with
And
that.
like I know that because I speak from experience.
Yeah, in fact, I think it could actually.
Just because my brother's not here anymore and him fat shaming me doesn't mean I'm not gonna stop giving up losing weight, because I've been trying to lose weight, not for him, but for myself, for the betterment of myself, and not for him. Like that's how it should have always been. Like it still is. It's just like I said. It's an emotional topic for me to talk about. That's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I mean, I try to understand where they're coming from, but I'm saying I think
you said you think it's a dangerous.
it's a dangerous ideology.
I think that's rare. I think most people probably don't. But
Because I feel like
you
they're
could do
at
a poll. And
I mean,
see
yeah,
and find
we're
out.
accepting that yes, you are fat, but is it okay to be like that? Maybe for a bit,
hey,
but in the long run, it's going to work against
I'm
you.
unapologetically fat. I like that word. Who is that? The girl from it was
Kaylee Jean Drinkwater.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, like, okay, I wouldn't say I'm apologetic. I know I am, but I wouldn't. I'm saying I'm unapologetic.
I'm gonna be unapologetically short too.
Unapologetic asshole, for lack of a better word. If you want to call me that, go ahead. I don't care. At least I speak the truth. I'd rather be an asshole that speaks the truth than be a nice guy telling you lies.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't see why people would focus on that. There was a guy online, Geoffrey Miller. I think he got his Twitter account suspended for a couple days for it, where he posted like something like, "Don't apply to my grad school program if you're overweight," which
Was that meant as a joke?
I think so, but it's a terrible joke. It's like if most people fail at losing weight, and we live in an environment in which calories.
Well, here in the West,
yeah, exactly. Calories are just numerous here in the United States. Most people are eating too many. You think the way to attack
industrial consumption of food.
yeah, but the way to attack obesity is through useful programs that help to educate, help people.
Isn't that why we have food stamps? Welfare SNAP. Because there's also, that's a whole nother topic, by the way. Food insecurity.
That's a whole different topic. I think it's
because we live in luxury of food. Like we can just go to Carl's Jr. if we want.
Right. Well, this is where I'm going to get some pushback. But do you know who Thomas Sowell is?
No, I do not.
Oh, he's an economist, and he's been often considered kind of center right. He's African American, and he pointed out that one of the things that correlates with obesity among African American women is that they're more likely to be on food stamps. And so sometimes I see. Here's a point that you might.
Hence where the name welfare queen comes from.
Well, so you were saying that we should look at things as they are, and I totally agree. I like empirical evidence, but in that case, I think that people are trying to empathize too much. So this would be the counter argument to what I was saying earlier: is that if you try to empathize too much with someone and you don't look at things as they are, you can actually worsen something you can worsen the outcome. You can hurt the people you're trying to help. That was your point earlier, right? More or less?
More or less.
Okay. So in this case with the food stamps, something like 20 to 25% of food stamps, every dollar used for food stamps is spent on sugar.
Yes, which is counterproductive.
Yeah, and so
counterintuitive.
Yeah,
actually.
and so the thing is, interventions are really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've known that. I mean, at least for someone like I said, my brother, it's kind of hard to help someone. That's why we can only motivate and push ourselves forward.
That's what I was gonna say. Motivate, push yourself
so
forward.
like, I don't think Tess Holliday is a good example of body positivity.
I don't know much about her. Why do you think that?
Because everyone looks at her like, one, she's a celebrity, two, she's a model, and two, like, supposedly she promotes body positivity. But at the same time, it's really, if you really look at it a different lens, it's probably fat acceptance. Like, don't get me wrong, I find her attractive, and yes, she has an attractive figure at most, but at the same time, that's going to work against her later in life.
Okay.
I mean, it's been pointed out that she has a hard time walking. And then, by the way, that incident I guess that was on Twitter. I guess one of her fans, supported, was a big fan of Tess Holliday, and that since she thought she was the champ, since she thought Tess was the champion of body positivity, showed her before and after pics of, the fans before and after pics of herself, saying, "Oh, Tess, you inspired me. Like, I lost weight because I was being pre-diabetic, But guess what happened instead? Tess blocks her fan.
Oh, for losing weight.
For losing weight, yes.
Yeah.
And Tess said,
even
quote,
though her fan was saying she inspired her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tess goes on to say, "I find your transformation picture triggering."
Yeah, I guess I see where you're going with this.
Okay,
Yeah,
you said to love the way yourself as you are. Okay, love yourself, but do make a change.
Yeah, I agree.
So
just try, yeah. If that's your goal, and
don't just love yourself and then not do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because loving yourself takes minutes. It's just like being in a relationship. That takes work too. Loving yourself,
but don't
takes work, just like being in a relationship.
Yeah, but don't also hate on people who aren't there yet. There's all these people.
Well, I mean, it's a struggle. It's a journey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I've been through that journey for like 30 years. So, am I ever gonna lose that gut? I don't know. I mean, I do have big fat cheeks. Honestly, I'm trying to improve myself. I don't know if I'll ever look like any of the celebrities I'll look.
You've been posting some of your workout stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to promote your Instagram?
You can follow me on my handle on Chicano _. No, I'm sorry. Chicano's. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Again, that's Chicano _ cyborg. Chicano _ cyborg. Chicano cyborg.
Okay, yeah. Anything else you wanted to mention before we go?
Just love yourself, but make that change that you need to.
And don't shame anybody.
Yeah, don't be complacent. Don't be lethargic. I mean, we're meant to strive for more, for better, to always constantly live our best lives, to challenge ourselves, to reinvent ourselves. We shouldn't have this on just because someone says we should.
Right.
I mean, we can love ourselves, but make that change too. And that's it.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Jason.
And we should have a closing out outro. I don't think we have one.
Oh, not yet. Well, we can leave this in the podcast. They're going to expect to see some changes with the podcast and some experimentation, especially now while we're at the kind of the beginning episodes, I might change the way I title things. But we appreciate you guys for listening.
And we're working on a logo as well.
And, leave us a comment. You can help by leaving us a comment and telling us what you would want to hear us talk about.
And hopefully you didn't find this triggering either. We should have gave it a trigger warning earlier.
Oh, I know, right?
A late trigger warning.
Well, I see. The thing is that, and I wish that more people would do this. Assume that people don't mean the worst.
Never assume the worst. We're just being insightful and just putting our 2 cents in.
And I always like to assume that people aren't perfectly articulate all the time.
And I know we live in a cancel culture too, so please don't cancel us because we're speaking our minds.
I know. And so the thing is that they're not going to always.
It's not like we're intentionally saying something insensitive. Well, it's an insensitive topic, yes.
So what I meant was that people aren't going to always say something perfectly all the time, and so. It's difficult to put your thoughts on this matter, especially because we do have mixed feelings about it. I think you and I slightly maybe disagree.
Well, I can personally speak on it because, like I said, I struggled. I personally went through this, still am. And then another thing, like I said about the fat acceptance, why I kind of bash on it a bit is just it's through the perspective of women, of obese women. But I've not heard anything from a man from the fat acceptance movement coming out saying his story, his piece.
And so I think that's why this podcast, in my opinion, was really important. And why
it was really important to me, just because I've gone through that.
Yeah,
I've gone through.
To talk about it. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there was diabetes in my family. Just the fat shaming that was going on from my brother and all that stuff. It's been a tough road, and I'm not going to stop the fight. If I can ever, now that because I'm also disabled, it's gonna be a lot harder, but it's gonna be a lot more worth it too.
Cool. Yeah. Let's end on that note.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Or morning.
Morning, I guess.